faithinwhatever.com, facebook.com/faithinwhatever. James, you are our moderator for the religion discussion this week. And
does that mean I get to be right?
We'll see.
Yes.
No. The religion moderator still falls under the umbrella of moderator extraordinaire. So that's me. So you're a subsection of me, basically.
So I'm like a co-author in a letter.
No, you're like a... this person influenced me. Look for them on page 100, and then they look at page 100, and then page 100's blank. So
don't worry, future guests will always be right.
No, you won't.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you would say that.
No, I mean you might be. So anyway, enough about being right. That's silly and ludicrous, and obviously we know that. We're joking, but go ahead, James. Fill us in on what's going on. Seriously, I'm right though.
What's funny is somebody asked me if we're always going to do, is it okay for Christians to blank? And I was like, no, we're going to expand past that. But that's exactly what this is. So,
you know what?
Have we always
to
done
the
that?
person who has asked that question, it would be a lot easier to expand past that if you would write in and tell us what you want to talk about.
That would be helpful.
And when you want to know if it's right or wrong for Christians to do.
Yeah. So I'm willing to cover any topic you write in. So
I don't know.
let us know. No, send it in. We'll cover
topic.
Yeah, we'll see about that. But anyway, is it okay for a Christian to listen to music that is either blatantly antithetical to the Christian mission or against Christianity itself or against God? So I'll give you an example to kind of get us started. I absolutely love it. We're talking about just the music, not the message or anything like that. I cannot get enough of Tool, the band Tool. I love their music so much. I think the band is incredible. They know how to...
That's fitting for you.
But
that was a home run right there. Dude.
But I've
No comment.
but the reality is now they're a little bit ambiguous about what their specific beliefs are, so I don't want to tell you what they believe or don't believe. But there are lyrics that are clearly meant to antagonize, or would clearly antagonize Christian who's paying attention. They're very there's statements in their music that's strong against what I'd call like the Christian perception of God. And in their music videos, there's certain imagery that certainly is trying to call to mind certain Christian imagery to kind of turn it on its head. And so I've had, especially when I was younger, I had a hard time trying to figure out like to sort of mitigate my desire to really love this band and their music, but having a hard time with the lyrics and sort of contemplating whether, is this something I should do? It's sort of the I call it the full football team example, right? When you have a diehard football fan who's in love with the Steelers.
Nice, that's my favorite team.
Right. If if there's some kind of content is anti-Steeler, right? It's somehow supposed to antagonize Steelers fans. They'll pick it out and they'll respond in kind, and they will sort of reject that as material because they are fans of the Steelers and they won't take anything that's going to be offensive to that fanhood, I guess, if that's a weird way of putting it. So should Christians be that way about certain things, such as music? There's a band that won a Grammy recently. The band is I can't remember what country they're from. The name of the band is Ghost. Anybody remember what country they're from?
I can look that up real quick and find out.
Well, I'm looking.
Grammy. Oh.
I think it was a Grammy. A satanic band called Ghost.
The singer dresses like an evil pope.
Yeah, and they're from Sweden. They're a Swedish satanic band. They won Best Metal Performance of 2016 at the Grammys. This isn't a Grammys discussion. It's just that they're kind of recently in the news sort of band, and yeah, they're obviously trying to
Intentionally offensive to...
Right. And I know people that I actually respect very much, who I wouldn't be surprised if they were listening to this music, because for them, Christian as they are, the music just doesn't seem to... It's like it's compartmentalization.
For sure. Right. I see that all the time.
Right. And so, what do you think about it, Garrett?
Josh knows that I'm pretty opinionated about this because he used to be one of my students, and I'd give him a hard time listening to all the crap that he's listened to. I really struggle with this, right? Let's be honest, okay? Let's just be honest. Can we all be honest for like 30 seconds?
No.
Okay.
Next segment.
Music affects us. And I really struggle with people who say, well, I don't listen to the lyrics.
I just listen to the beat.
The music doesn't affect me. They're like, then why are you a fan of music? You would hate music. You'd be like, I don't get it. Like, why do you like music? If you like music and you like specific bands, you like to go to shows, you like to own, download, or steal music, then it probably affects you. So if we're being honest and say that it affects us, we have to ask ourselves, in which way does it affect us? And are we setting boundaries in our Christian walk for those ways that it affects us? If let's say that if we can admit that drinking more than 3 drinks affects us in a way towards drunkenness, let's admit that and say, okay, I can't have more than 3. If we admit that listening to lyrics eventually affects our heart, or I think we can probably find a basis that in some way it affects our life, then why is it that music, we compartmentalize
It gets a
that?
pass. Why does music
Why does it
get
get a pass from affecting you, that you can listen to whoever, however? I think media sometimes gets a pass.
It affects me for sure, especially when I was younger. Maybe less so now, but when I was younger and I was in the torrent of all
Downloading
the
torrent.
not that sort of torrent.
of.
I wasn't in the torrents themselves. But I was, when you
Don't
deal
steal
with,
music.
there's far more.
Pay for it.
When I was younger, and I think it's true of a lot of people, there's a lot more sort of chemical happening in your body, and you're much more emotionally sort of all over the place.
Synaptic pruning.
You're dealing
Malleable.
with stronger spikes in emotion, both positive and negative. And in that time, I've always listened to all kinds of music. I get that from my father, but I certainly was attracted to metal and all kinds of things. And I remember coming into a stage of my life where I was quite depressed, and I remember my father, by the way, and my father very wisely saying, you inundate yourself with this music, and regardless of how you feel about it, and it's fine that you like it. A lot of these bands are very talented, he would admit that, but their lyrics inundate you, and even if you don't think so, they are kind of, if you're listening to these lyrics over and over and over again, they are going to influence you. And his first piece of advice was like, you maybe need to not, like, I'm not saying shun this music, but he said maybe you need to cut back a bit and listen to some things that kind of provide a more positive worldview. Well, in my case, he was right. When I did that, it made a big difference in my life. And I can't speak for everybody's experience, but it certainly was that way for me. So we have this
Which
band.
makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Right.
just thinking about how media and art affects people, that makes a lot of sense.
So we have this band here called Ghost, and in an article about them winning the Grammy in World Religion News written by Derek Welch, here's a statement from that. I'm going to read right off the article, and I think it makes quite clear. It says, in a website dedicated to the group, Ghost is described as a devil-worshipping ministry that uses pop rock music to achieve their ends, that is, to glorify and glamorize the disgusting and the sacrilegious, and to majestically weave their melodic spell of evil through the senses until the listener finds themselves utterly possessed and open to any diabolical
Is
suggestion.
this from them?
No, this is where I
Was
want
this
to...
written about them, or did they themselves write that?
It's
about
written
Ghost?
by a fan about them. A fan of them, I should say.
Yeah, I wouldn't listen to a band like that because it just sounds like they're trying too hard.
Yeah.
Right. And some of this is about kind of putting it out there for the sake of the show.
Yeah,
Right? That
for sure.
always that of course happens.
You see how terrible bands like Guar.
We have a friend that would hate that you just said that right now, and he listens to this podcast.
They're awful. Are you listening?
Marilyn Manson built a whole career on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
But seriously, Guar's terrible.
so the idea is, like, let's say those lyrics and sort of that presentation, you're claiming, I don't pay a lot of attention to that. I just like the riff or whatever. But you are, whether you like it or not, inundating yourself with that experience, with those lyrics, with those passions. And is that something? Two things: should you expose yourself to it, on a regular basis, and B, is there something to be said about making sure you're loyal to your team, right? If you're the Steelers fan, doesn't take no crap about people talking trash about Steelers, right?
Right.
And if you're most loyal to the team of Christianity, to God, to Jesus, should you be expressing that loyalty by not inundating yourself with anti-Christian, call it propaganda for the sake of not having a good word to come to mind. What do you think, Josh?
I'm a little bit torn on this one. I do listen to music for the beat and not for the lyrics. That's why I love electronic music because a lot of it there is no
Just
lyrics.
every time they drop the bass. Every
Typically,
time.
when I listen to it, the system is down, so that's kind of cool.
Do you flick the lights up and down while you listen to it?
Yeah.
Just stand right there by the door. Just, just go at it.
Just tossing my glow stick in the air. Classic homestarrunner.com reference for those of you who
Students,
grew up in-
by the way, students don't know what that is. They thought I was crazy when I
my
quote
students
that.
do
Well, because you showed it to them.
because I love them. Because I'm a good youth pastor. That's the difference. So
Shots fired.
wow, show them that.
I will.
You should. Come on, dude. Anyway, Garrett's a great youth pastor. We just went to camp together, actually. So, this topic specifically, I am a huge fan of the band Death Cab for Cutie.
Okay.
I have been listening to them since I was 12 years old. Ben Gibbard probably labels himself as somewhere between agnostic and atheist. Probably more on the agnostic doesn't care side, or whatever.
It's irrelevant to him.
Yeah, and has made a career out of writing these sad love songs. And what I'm always so appreciative about him is he finds 1,000 ways to say the same thing. And that's, for me, where the artistry is there. Actually, on my phone right now is the original pen and paper that he used to write my favorite Death Cab song. And so that's a little bit topic sensitive and specific. And his lyrics are sad. They're, depressing, and they invoke in you a melancholy state for sure. And there is something comforting to me about that. And so now we have to draw lines in kind of terms of what we're talking about here. Antithetically, diametrically opposed music to Christendom, I probably wouldn't listen to, just because I think it's stupid, and not in the sense that like it's. I take issue with it because it's dumb to me.
define yourself against a thing is odd.
And you can be against Christianity. And again, a lot of friends of mine are very outspoken against Christianity. And that's okay. And I totally see where a lot of them are coming from. Just experientially, distortion of the gospel understanding, evils of the church, like whatever. But to try and promulgate this message in the sense of all of whatever is bad, right? Anybody that's in the extreme of any fringe or on the fringe of anything, I don't really pay much attention to, and music is no different for me in that. And I think that's a little bit more of a balanced perspective to take at it, because when we were talking about this conversation a few months ago with the idea of Deadpool, right? And that's an open exposure to media, and you're being influenced by those things. And so we talk about how those things maybe draw some of that out of you, right? And allow you to satiate, and it alleviates some of what is naturally found in us there. And so lyrics with cursing, don't terribly bother me.
I'm not too worried about that, no.
But stuff that's antithetic, like super diametrically opposed, I just look at it and say, that's just stupid. Like I couldn't care less than how I feel like about that. Anybody that takes a stand. And then even on the other side of it, like things that are like so Christian, music that's like way over the top Christian.
On the other side of this,
I don't know if that's an accurate statement.
I hate Christian bands that sell a lot of albums just because they're Christian and their music is awful.
Sure. That's probably a lot of them.
MXPX was like that in the early 2000s. Their music was terrible.
So good.
No, it was so bad.
For my 13-year-old self, dude, MXPX rocked.
They weren't even good for punk rock. And that's a low bar.
But I I enjoyed stuff like The Insiders, right? Like that Christian ska stuff for a while.
Insiders were great.
And those types of things. But I guess anything, for me, it's not a matter of whether or not you should or shouldn't listen to music that's, Christian or not Christian there. It's just anything in the fringes that's that explicitly over the top on either side of the coin. I'm probably just not going to pay attention to.
I guess what I'm explaining, though, is there a line that shouldn't be crossed with what we're consuming? And we're using music here
consuming.
specifically.
Yeah. And I think there is. And for me, that's probably that line. Anything that's that I see and personally perceive as so out there in the bush that I'm just not going to waste my time.
See, for me, I early on, when I started getting into music, right, junior high and high school, I really had this like crisis of conflict of who I would listen to, and I noticed, and it's very clear in today's society that it's easy for music to define your identity. We see people dressing certain ways, different kind of music they listen to, So I decided probably ninth grade that I would only listen to Christian. Well, back then I said Christian music, but say Christian artists.
You only had Five Iron Frenzy in your car for years.
That's not true. I only had, but I listened to
Easily
them
a decade. That was all
For
that was
sure.
in his CD player.
Yeah, like a couple
from the
Five Iron
S4
Frenzy
to
albums.
the STI to the Jeep.
Uh-huh.
Only that Five
I'm
Iron.
glad you
that
remember all those.
Cornerstone
Yes,
99. That live Cornerstone
Yes.
1999
Yeah,
album.
that's still my favorite album.
Isn't it wonderful that Josh knows all the bad things about you?
Yeah, no, those are great memories.
Sure.
Switchfoot's albums back in the day.
Also bad.
Well, this is like late '90s, early 2000s. There wasn't very good Christian music.
And this is also why I looked outside of, and I continue to look outside of the Christian fold, because the Christian scene is so saturated. I mean, and it's just, a lot of it's just not good. The musicality is bad. The lyrics are stupid. Like, you can't tell. South Park
It's all
has a
happy, positive.
perfect spin on this when you just replace the lyrics of Jesus with Baby there, and you've got a pop hit. Like, I mean, those things are spoofs because they're real.
Sure.
Right.
And there's value in recognizing that.
Well, then I got to the age of what I really wanted good music, and I almost. This is back my last episode when I talked about Sufi. I almost stopped. I won't say stopped listening to music, but I stopped really being affected by it and kind of valuing it. I'm like, man, Christian music it's just not very good, you know?
Yeah.
So then I decided that when I found Sufi, I'm like, I'm just gonna just dive into it and research it. I'm gonna have to just hunt for those gems of artists who just happen to be Christians.
I don't want to look that hard.
That's true, and some people don't, you know, and they just listen to the radio and they just listen to whatever the radio tells them to. And so now, I mean, when I tell people that I don't listen to a Christian artist, they think I'm weird or naive or ignorant, you know.
Yeah, Katy Perry's from a Christian family. That's cool.
But instead, I'm
common ground.
listening to podcasts and blogs who they find artists who are Christian that make really great music. And so now, to the point that, I mean, the hardest part that I connect with my students is on music because they listen to Justin Bieber and Sia and all these people that I have no idea. I don't.
Sia's rad.
I don't listen to any
Sia
music
is rad.
on the radio.
I like her older stuff
Is
better.
that the sheepdog?
Sia?
What?
From the cartoon?
No, that always wears the wig.
Yeah, she hides her face.
Oh, yeah.
Looks like a sheepdog.
I only know that because of my students. Thank you, students.
I got no idea.
You ever seen her perform?
No, I've seen her perform,
Yeah.
but I've never thought sheepdog.
So I guess what I'm saying
She's eccentric for sure. Yeah.
to
But
James
she also
is-
did that because
is-
she wanted to live a normal life, right? She didn't want people to know what she looked like.
But you could Google.
That's
and find,
not
you,
true
you
at
can
all.
Find pictures
Her
of
early albums have her face right on
Yeah,
the
you
cover.
can find pictures of her. It's not hard.
You guys are.
Just
Google,
Google.
making
Just-
up trivia
She
again.
just wants people to. She just wants people to
No,
Google
it
her.
was in a radio interview that I heard.
So my answer to my question is I think it varies from person to person, and one thing to be careful of is not judging their decision. For me, I have to be careful not to, like, it's hard for me. Sometimes I see people who are in Christian leadership, you know, they just can't wait to go to their Pearl Jam reunion concert or whatever, you know, and I'm
I
like,
hate Pearl Jam.
but
Also awful.
but in the same sense, right? Like, I don't want to get too personal, but it's like people judge me that I don't know what music is because I only listen to artists who are Christian. I'm like, oh, you're totally like out of the loop.
I would also push the other way. I think there's value in listening to non-Christian music there. There's great value in it because it allows you to understand.
I disagree.
It
I'm
allows you
right.
to understand the landscape of what.
Well, there's between
culture's at.
non-Christian
Just watch the Grammys and you'll just, like,
and
take notes.
antithetical to
Yeah,
Christian.
even antithetical Christian there, because once you're able to identify where the fringes are, it's a lot easier to start working backwards than it is to work out in a sense.
Isn't
because-
that's I mean, talk about you don't want to hunt for Christian music that's good. Imagine hunting for the symbolism and the
Way
meaning
easier.
in just music to find out where people stand within Christianity.
but I'm talking about if you're starting at the line, if you're trying to identify where the line is,
for yourself, you mean?
yeah, just as a person, right? Like
Okay.
Ghost is probably a good line to start at, right?
I don't even think you'd have to do that. I think you just listen to whatever it is that you like.
No, I'm saying yes. Well, that too. But I mean, if you
Let me go try and find the worst. Okay, I don't like that. Let me take one step back.
yeah, and seeing where that line is, you can see okay. And also, there's value in understanding people, even people in the fringes there.
Yeah, but that's, I mean, you can have that interest to
Yeah.
understand with, that's different than listening to
Consuming
it.
for the sake of consumption,
Right.
Yeah, and which I would agree.
That's
But-
research.
and we
really.
take in music
Yeah.
differently than we read. I mean, because I'm sure all of us have read a lot of authors who are very down on Christianity, but we don't sit and go over it over and over the same way we might with a song we really like. It doesn't sink in over time.
It probably
the
doesn't
same
cling
way.
as to our depths as
Yeah.
much as music can.
Yeah, in fact, talking about the influence of music, this is something that I know from my ministry background is, where I preach and do ministry, there's a lot of patients with dementia and Alzheimer's. Music brings people to clarity almost immediately, that they will not recognize many things around them, the people around them not know names, not know where they are, but they hear a tune and they immediately know the tune, can hum to it.
We had not a personal experience, but a woman we know and who's close with our family, she had a type of dementia, I guess it would be, and she got to a point where she couldn't speak anymore and didn't really seem to recognize people, but she still knew her favorite hymns, so she could still sing with her family.
Right.
So, and it was really a very interesting in terms of the power of music and how we process it and hold on to it.
Right. Which is why ministries that are focused on people with dementia and Alzheimer's, they're primarily music-based. They're basically worship services.
Right. There is a value in understanding that there's an intimacy in music specifically that's not available in other art forms.
So music gets...
God designed it. God probably designed it that way.
Right, and it
To
shouldn't
affect
be
you like that.
something that's treated lightly.
So music gets deeply installed in us.
Right.
So should we be careful about what we install, right?
Yeah.
Good question.
Something that I notice, and I don't know if this is just a judgment, but or laziness, of people who are Christians and who don't listen to Christian music are typically just listening to popular music on the radio. They're not finding this obscure band, and they don't have this obscure taste necessarily. I feel like that people who are just like, you don't listen to Christian music? I only listen to, and they list off 5 bands, and they're just the 5 bands.
Yeah, AT Top 40.
Yeah.
AT 40.
Yeah, and it's almost like that's
Anything Ryan Seacrest does is good.
correct. That's almost like, okay, you're just being lazy. You're not even looking and trying.
Satanist Ryan Seacrest.
If you would have said, "Oh, I don't,"
He's not a Satanist.
If
Please
you're a
don't
Christian
sue.
and say, "I don't listen to Christian music, but I listen to this really obscure type of music," I would understand almost because you can't find any. Not that you have to find Christian analogs for all your favorite bands. That's really super 90s. But it's almost like you even tried and it's just not there. Like all you like is traditional Japanese, that giant instrument that you played laying down. I don't know. Like if that's all you like, I totally get that the fact that you listen to Christian music, because I don't know if that's even there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all in agreement about this.
And you all agree with me because I'm right, because I'm the moderator this time.
I think you are. I mean, I think you bring up a good point in saying that we probably need to do a better job at being more self-aware at what we take in.
Yeah.
And this is a problem that I have seen with even in rap music.
Yeah.
I love rap music. I love rap music. But
and he really does. He's not just saying that.
Yeah, but
I know this is for a fact.
there's some commercial stuff that I can't listen to it because just the degradation levels are insane, and it makes me sad. There and I mean, I think there's value in being able to live in that conviction. And a good thing about that is that's a great conversation starter. I mean, when somebody asks you about that, why are you so sensitive to that, or why do you feel this way about whatever?
Yeah.
It's a great opportunity to have a conversation about your faith and your convictions in that.
Take charge of what makes you you, right? And the things that are influencing
Take responsibility
you and creating you.
for it.
Yeah.
Is that the end of that segment?
You should.
I think so.
I'll throw one more monkey wrench in. real quick.
Yes.
I used to know a very intelligent man, a great thinker. He's since passed on, but he was really big into
I'm right here.
to music. I said great.
I am phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
My bad.
Yeah.
Not grating.
Seriously, tell them I'm phenomenal.
But he was a big classical music aficionado.
Mm-hmm.
And there were certain composers he would avoid because he didn't like the feelings he felt it stirred in him. And he felt as a Christian.
What feelings do you like classical music?
Well, I mean,
besides like utter boredom.
the way some music can make you feel angry, I guess, or make you feel sad, or those sorts of things.
I could see that. There's I collect a lot of classical music and listen to it, and
Of course you do.
and there's certain music that I end up not listening to at all again. Not because it makes me feel sad necessarily or angry, but sometimes agitated. I sometimes get feelings of agitation from some classical music, and I'm like, nope.
Do you have
nope.
to turn your Bach to the music?
Oh,
Yeah. What's up? That was like a miss home run. That was
Punishment.
like- classic.
we're going to cut off your ears for that.
But that's a very good point. I think that that person was very aware, was sensitive to the fact that music affected him, and made some calls, some boundary calls of where to draw those lines.
Oh, let's tighten it even tighter. What about the artists themselves?
Well, yeah, by buying their music, you're supporting them. So you need to be, as Christians, don't we need to be slightly aware of who and how we're supporting people?
I would say no. I don't care. John Mayer is a perfect example of this. I don't know how. I don't think he's much this way anymore. But when he was younger, terrible person. I mean,
Sure.
just
Horrible human being.
and like not kind. In terms of what came out
In a
and stuff like that.
So
non-judgmental
you've
type
heard.
of way.
Yeah, and so I've read.
Yeah.
I mean, if you see a couple of his article interviews, just atrocious and irreverent on every level there. But I love his music, and
So you see no problem with buying albums, going to shows?
I don't. And I think of this. This actually is a big conversation with pro athletes too, right? Should they be role models? Are they examples? And blah blah blah. And I think it's okay to see that compartmentalization. I'm okay with that on a personal level. I'm okay with the concept of saying I'm not looking to you as somebody who's an arbiter of my morality or even an influencer in that. There, I think there can be a distinction made. And I think people can make great music that I
Sure.
don't care about their personal life. I don't look to them for anything on a moral basis, on a scriptural basis, on any type of Christian walk basis. But their music is rad. You know, it's in the same way. I don't
Well,
care
you're just
about
a consumer. You're buying this product that's been made.
which is dope. You know,
Yeah.
I'm not paying you for your political opinion.
Yeah.
Don't talk about why I should be a Democrat. I don't care what you think.
You don't care what McDonald's thinks. You just want some chicken nuggets.
Yeah, and then and so I'm okay with making that distinction.
Let me ask you to take this to the next extreme. Now, not that they're just a jerk or an unlikable
Yeah.
person, but let's say they do a terrible thing, such as who is the one person who beat up his girlfriend a few years ago?
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown. So what if that happens? I mean, is there a standard? It's like I can't partake in what you're putting out because of something so extreme that you have done. Do you
great
slay
question.
any kind of boundaries like that?
It depends on how long goes by between those things. I'm okay. I'm not a one and done type person. Good parallel to this is the Kobe Bryant story in Colorado when he was accused of raping a woman. And they settled in court and things like that. Publicly apologized, bought his wife like a $3 million ring. And
Solves everything.
And has since moved on and blah, blah, blah.
I wouldn't know.
Not yet. Find us on patreon.com. But not yet. What we will
Soon.
be. Yeah, very soon. So, he came out and publicly apologized. There, I'm okay with the concept of giving somebody a second chance. But if there is no remorse, yeah, that would be a game changer for me. And I would be okay. First of all, Chris Brown's music is awful.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's not good.
Is that because that's behavior as opposed to just views?
And
Like, I don't care what you think and believe, but I kind of care about how you act as a human.
yeah, and the human-to-human contact is important to me, and for me, that's the line. Some might call it, that's very subjective of you, but what we have is subjectivity
Right.
in its essence.
It's what we're working
all
with.
we have,
Yeah.
and so, for me, that's the line.
Yeah, and I would answer your question. I think maybe I'm just a little bit more sensitive to that, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've always kind of leaned towards Christian artists, is because I didn't want to have to deal with that.
It feels safer.
Yeah, I didn't know how to adjust. I mean, music affects me, and I admitted that, so I didn't want to love music and the person just be a total jerk and a total human. So not that Christians are perfect by any means, but at least we can relate. Me and that artist can relate with the same type of
Right.
struggles and the same level.
For me, I mean, to add a slightly different wrinkle is, it used to be that I was listening to music pretty much all day, every day. And so what I listened to mattered quite a bit since there's so much of it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm now that I'm thinking about myself, the last 4 or 5 years, I've been really listening to podcasts all
Sure.
day, every day. And I'm realizing that maybe the conversation I need to have with myself now is what conversations am I inundating myself with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a valid point.
Yeah. But that's a different conversation probably for another day.
For next week's religion topic.
All right.
What podcast should we be listening to? Faithandwhatever.com is a great place to start, and that's where you can find us there. And you can also find us on facebook.com/.
Beautiful segue.
Faith and Whatever. At James YULE, at TStudentLife, at Josh_Carman, CARMAN, at Marion Ranch, the guy behind the decks. We appreciate you stopping by.